Hey everybody, Dom Nicastro, managing editor at CMSWire, here with Paul Roetzer. He is the CEO and founder of the Marketing AI Institute. Paul, we're going to talk all things AI and marketing today. Are you shocked at that?
It is the hot topic these days, which is good for us. It is a wild time in AI right now.
Yeah. And before we came on here, we were, and first of all, the whole point of this is to get into the DAL-E 2 system, the open
Yeah.
AI built artificial intelligence machine learning engine where you can lose a whole day searching for images, which I almost did today. I got lost. I forgot that I was like an editor of a daily website here. And I was doing that before we came on. But before we jump into that, do a little screen share, show marketers what the possibilities are. I mean, you told me before that lately, for some reason, there's just been a ton of innovation. Like, what's going on? Did people just get over the Labor Day hump and just start innovating again? Like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been thinking about stopping and like writing a post trying to like collect my thoughts on this. But right now, it's just been like I shared it with my team last week. I was traveling, I was at a conference doing an AI talk, and it's so there's a combination of things for me. One, I have a list of AI researchers and entrepreneurs I follow on Twitter, like a curated list. Some of like some of them are like the most prominent AI researchers of our generation, and they're active on Twitter, which is amazing. Where we're at in like humanity that we can have
Yeah,
access to the thoughts of these people.
right.
Maybe like rewinding back to like Einstein and like getting Einstein would tweet like what he's thinking about that day. Like that's where we're at. Is like these brilliant people are just tweeting stuff out. And so I started noticing probably a month or two ago a lot more chatter from those people about major leaps in AI, like
Mm,
things that are right around the corner that are coming that are like grand challenges in AI, like things that we didn't think we could solve yet.
yeah.
And just like, just mentioning stuff. And it's like, yeah, they weren't talking about that a year ago. Like general intelligence, for example, like getting to a point where like the machines are smarter than humans and can do
Yeah.
anything basically. There's increasing chatter from people in major research labs that it's almost imminent and near term, which is a crazy thing to ponder. So one, there's this increasing chatter, is the best word I can come up with, from major AI researchers talking about this stuff. There's some like podcasts these people have done, like even like an Elon Musk or a Demis Hassabis at DeepMind, where they're
Mm,
just talking about things that were always 10 years out as though they're no longer 10 years out.
uh,
So that's one. Two is we talk to a lot of AI researchers and entrepreneurs, a lot of times off the record. And the things they're telling us that they're doing and they're showing us that I can't get into
mm,
are are like blowing my mind.
mm,
And what I have learned through conversations with these people, these major research labs, is generally the stuff we're seeing, like DALL-E, which we're going to get into. What we're seeing today is probably 12 months behind where they're actually at.
mm,
So the research labs build these capabilities, they test them, they vet them, they think about the possible misuse, the bad actors, all that stuff like goes into like, do we release this thing? Do we even talk about it yet? And the tech is probably been developed for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. That basically what I'm being told is it's getting closer to 6 months, but 12 is a safe bet. That what we're seeing today with language and image generation tools assume they're 12 months ahead already of what we're seeing. And so there's those like one-on-one conversations that give me this kind of thing. And then there's just the stuff all of us see, which is DALL-E 2 comes out in April, ImageGen from Google comes out in May, Runway ML announces text to video in September.
yeah.
Facebook launches text to video in September, October.
Yeah.
It's just stable diffusion, like all of the tech that you and I can actually go now play with. That's the stuff where it's like, this was not like this a year ago. Like if you wanted to understand AI, I couldn't have told you, well, go test these 5 tools.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you, Dom, just here, man. Here's 3 image generation tools. Go play with them.
Yeah.
Here's language generation. Go play with them. Here's one where you can go chat with like celebrities that are trained as synthetic chatbots. Like
Yeah. And you don't need a credit card for these things,
it's
which is
crazy.
great.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so hard to fathom how fast this is moving.
yeah, I know a lot of things are kind of off the record, but like if you could summarize like what the big takeaway for a marketer is and what they can maybe expect in 2023 that will, get into their practical, like day-to-day applications of campaign management, content marketing, that kind of thing? Is there some big gotcha that's coming, that marketers should be aware of?
I think it's just that the technology is very approachable and usable now and affordable. So like we're going to talk about Dolly in particular, like that alone. Like if you're a creative, if you're an illustrator, a designer, like you work in the creative profession, or if you're a marketer who pretends to be a creative sometimes and like tries to do something creative, or you just need to find images to go with presentations or blog posts or ads or social shares, like you don't need stock photos. Like
Yeah.
it's just generate, and then you can edit the thing with your voice. So it's all what's happening is we're entering this phase where everything is a text prompt. Like if I want to create something, all I have to do is tell the machine what it is I want, like whatever my mind can imagine. And so there's actually like a term I recently learned as a prompt engineer. What's happening is people are like building careers figuring out how to tell the machine what to create. Like they're getting really, really good at prompting Dolly to create exactly what they want, because it's a bit of an art form. Like what style do I want it in? How do I want it? Do I go really deep on the description, or is it like a short and let the thing? And the way I explain this to people is like, I was just explaining this on our podcast. If you think back to like Boolean searches, there are some of us old enough to have done Boolean searches to find things. And you used to have to give this really specific description of what exactly you wanted in quotes and ors and like then Google comes along and like now you can just tell it what you want and it tries to kind of guess it. Now Google today is so good at understanding your intent of what it is you want to find. Apply that same capability to what you want to create. I want an image that does this. And imagine that the machine understands you the way Google's search engine understands you. And it can actually, on the first shot, give you the exact image, or maybe better than you were imagining. And then do the same thing with language models. I want a blog post or a paragraph about this. We're not heading there. Like we're there. Like, and that's the takeaway for me for marketers. We're not talking about stuff that's 3 years away. We are talking about tech you can go get for $19 a month or $59 a month or whatever it is, or in some cases, play around with it for free, and you can start infusing it into your campaigns like right now.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I remember our early talks like 3 years ago, you kept saying things like it's 5 years away, it's 3 years away. And it seems like it's fast forwarded to here and it's now.
Yeah.
And Dolly's a great example. So what I wanted to do right now is share something that we can have a lot of fun with. So we were talking about Dolly 2, Paul, the OpenAI system that people can just go in and have a lot of fun. And I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to go ahead and do that because I was blown away. In fact, I took like the whole afternoon doing this. And I was like, man. So it's for me, like I'm a marketer. You need artwork, right? In your day-to-day marketing. You need to put it in emails. You need to put it in campaigns, what have you, obviously.
Social shares, blog posts, presentations.
And first thing I did when I started playing around, Paul, was do something like simple, people that are stressed out, right? So let's see what happens when you do something like that. And I didn't even test this one particularly yet. This is like on the spot during our recording.
Which is interesting because it didn't actually do people. When it first came out, they wouldn't do faces and it was terrible at people.
Yeah.
And so this is actually, they wouldn't have done this in the first few months, but that's interesting. So now do go up and at a comma. So just at the end of
comma. Okay.
At a comma and do cartoon characters.
Okay. So
this is what we were talking about with prompting and then tuning the prompt.
Yep.
So what you're doing is like, okay, like, no, I think I want to go with this theme.
Yes.
And then it keeps adapting. So you can do any style you want. Like you can do it in the style of an artist. You can say 3D render, chalk drawing, pencil drawing.
So there you go. So just cartoon. And the thing about this, Paul, is that, marketers have long wanted to be, I think that there's a desire to be like a graphic designer, right? That's a skill, man. If you're a marketer and a graphic designer, that's jackpot. That looks great on your resume, right?
Right.
You don't need, I can do it now. I'm neither a marketer nor a graphic designer. And I can figure out, okay, let's go with, so we're doing a campaign for marshmallows, right? And I'm going to say marshmallows boxing each other in black and white. Let's see what happens there. So You
And
could
again, this is like 8 seconds or less for images. And then
think
you can
about
click
it.
on any of these images and edit them with
Yeah.
further text prompts.
We should almost do like a Google search too to see what the comparison is.
Mhm.
So it's similar. I mean, you see here, they're not quite boxing, they're almost boxing. But I did that earlier, and I'm like, first of all, my first thought is, Paul, Dom, what's in your head? Why are you having marshmallows box? And then another one I think I did like a frog climbing. No, I think it was a teddy bear. Teddy bear climbing a mountain. But that's just a basic one. Like you can add layers, like in a Van Gogh style painting or
Yeah,
something.
do
right?
3D render is one of my favorites. Like it always comes out with like
Comma
amazing
3D
stuff.
renders. Okay, we'll try
Yeah,
that.
you don't even have to do commas. It understands it now. But
Okay. So teddy bear climbing a mountain, and there you go. I mean, it looks cool, right? It's like
yeah. So now click on the first one, the red one.
this one here. Okay.
Yeah, and then hit edit
Okay. Edit
on the top, and then
imaging editor.
yeah.
Beta.
So take that and go over the red. Just like erase the red.
Okay.
Okay, and then go up and put blue shirt, like just at the end of mountain. Just type blue shirt, and then just hit go.
Yep.
Now you can do the same thing with anything. You could say at sunset and erase the sky, and it would make the sky sunset, or it's under stars, and it would go through and like make. And
yeah.
So that you're seeing this stuff like this is amazing what they're doing. You can do it with Mid Journey, also kind of got it like it did a blue.
Yeah, put a blue
like
stringy thing. Yeah.
But you're like this is being built into like Adobe, these capabilities. Like you can Google Pixel, their latest phone, you can edit backgrounds by just like erasing stuff. Like
now
everyone's becoming an artist. It's crazy.
Right. That's the thing that's mind blowing about this is that I feel like I'm a graphic designer and I don't have to be in Photoshop.
Right.
I can be on this tool. So now I have 2 credits left. Does that mean I've been on it all day?
So 15 free credits for you fill on it. Yeah, you have 2 credits left. So you get 15 free and then you got to pay for it.
All right. So we got two more to go.
Make it a good search.
Make it a good one, right? It's like, you know what I did early? Because I was thinking of you coming on. Like a marketer must want to do something like, hey, we're having a conference, Marketing AI Institute conference, like, in Cleveland. So what I did was I just searched Cleveland. Just a raw Cleveland search, and it was weird what came up.
Yeah,
this
could be
different, like Cleveland. So,
you know what that's going to do? That might actually change your teddy bear one to a Cleveland scene.
Oh, really?
Because we're in edit. I don't know. I'm thinking it probably will. I bet it'll make the teddy bear like somewhere in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I actually did that for our conference. I did like a robot walking through.
So nothing kind of happened. I think I have to X out of this.
Yeah, you got to get out of that.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do another city like Chicago. See what happens.
So I would do like a robot walking through the city streets of Cleveland at nighttime. Like I played around with images like that to do.
But marketers can get so basic; they're in a rush. Like, okay, I just need a photo of Chicago because we're doing a conference there.
Right.
Okay, there you go. There's Chicago.
And then make like at nighttime, and then it will change the sky to nighttime, and like, it's just
nighttime with frogs walking. See what happens. Let's see what happens.
This is your last one.
Oh, no, is it my last?
Oh, you already used your last one.
Oh, is that my last one there, or is I already used my last one?
I think it's the generate button's not active.
Well, there's a lesson for our audience, right? Is to not go crazy because you're going to lose your free thing. Maybe I can stop sharing that. But Paul, the one thing I noticed in this is concerning. I mean, of course, there's concerns, right? I mean, this is a powerful piece of technology, and it can go one way. It can go south. Right. I think Getty Images, did they ban the use of this because of copyright issues? They were worried about there's some copyright issues going on.
Unsplash won't let you upload AI generated images. Yeah.
Privacy concerns. There was something with medical records I read about that people were concerned about. Something was coming up in the privacy realm. So is there a message there to marketers to just not go in this blind like I am and let's use that image, put it in?
So my feeling is it's fun to experiment with this stuff that and you're going to have people on your team that may just play around with it, and they may even like, well, I'm going to use some AI to write this post or do this project, and the leaders in the company may not even know they're using it. So, and that might open you up to some liability issues. And, who owns this stuff? And is it public domain? Like actually, Chris Penn just did a great interview with an attorney 2 days ago where he was asking these hard questions about the intellectual property and who owns this stuff. And that was one of the key takeaways is if it's AI generated, it's public domain because a copyright has to be held by a human, is like US copyright law. So there's all these like unknowns around it. But my big thing I would guide people is you have to think about the responsible use of this stuff and the ethics behind it. And the key is that organizations should move toward having a basic ethics policy of the use of AI tools. So there's like the ethics use, there's the legal ramifications, but are we going to use this technology at scale? And if so, like how is that going to impact us and what potential bias may exist within these data sets we're using? The language models are a huge one around this. They're trained basically on the internet for simplistic terms. So like all of that, all the stuff can get infused in. Now you can set rules like, okay, don't go into Reddit or don't go into this place and pull that information, but they're generally just trained on internet data. In this case, billions of images they learn from. And so I think the danger we're heading to right now in marketing is these tools are becoming readily available. And most people that would use them have no idea how they work or how they were trained or the potential ramifications, like negative ramifications of using them. They don't even know to ask these questions. And that's where we're, as a marketing institute, we're trying to create more desire for asking the hard questions. Like we want marketers and brands to realize that there's another side to this, but until they understand what the tech is, that they're not going to think to ask those questions or set the parameters within their own corporation.
Yeah, and we were kind of when it came out at CMSWire as a publishing company, we were like, all right, let's see what's going on. Like, can we use some of these images for our articles? And the first couple images that came up, I thought I was in a horror movie with the way the people looked.
Yeah.
I can't figure like that. You have that AI look into a person. Like you get real close, you from afar, you're like, oh, that's a cool image. But then you get closer, you look at their eyes. It's like, oh my.
Yeah, there's always something off. But
right.
I would say it's less a technological barrier as it is a choice that has been made by many of the builders of this technology, because that's a really slippery slope. Like if you allow it to build very human looking, undistinguishable human looking faces and people, then the ability to use that stuff for bad is limitless. And so they're having to, on the fly, build guardrails into the use of these things. So initially, like you could not request a celebrity's face. I don't know if DALL-E changed their guidelines now.
Yeah.
But when it first came out, you couldn't use it to make a face because they didn't want it to be used negatively.
Yeah. I did the ultimate test. I searched Trump, right, and see what will come up. And nothing. And it said something
political
like
figures
we don't do that or something like that. But then I did president, and I just did president eating nachos, something like that, or and it came up with cartoony images, and it wasn't anybody. Didn't look like Biden or something.
Right.
So it stayed away from that. Definitely.
Now that's DALL-E though. There are other image generation technologies that won't have the same restrictions, and that's the danger. Is so what's happening is the major research labs, which I'll say majors like, Meta, Amazon Science, Google Research, Microsoft, they all have their own research labs. That's where many of the top AI people are, is they're within these major research labs because they have almost infinite budgets to work on the biggest problems. So they're staying at the forefront. So if you're an AI researcher, you want to be at the forefront of what's possible. What's happening though is those corporations have more incentive to be very conservative in the release of the technology. They have to be very careful. So like Google still hasn't released Imagen, which is their version of DALL-E. You still can't go use it. Yeah. So the reason is because they have to be more careful about the release of it. So what's happening is you have AI researchers at these major research labs that are leaving and starting their own image and language companies because they don't have these restrictions then. So the tech isn't the restriction. It's the willingness to release the tech and open source it and make it readily available for the average person to use that you have to make ethical choices around, and some bigger companies are just not as willing to do it.
Yeah. And do you think we're getting better with this type of technology at things like, so I did a test and I searched CEO, just CEO, and I think it was 3 men and 1 woman.
Yep.
And because I was waiting for the 4 men, and like, guys, this is in the 50s.
Yep.
I was waiting to make that criticism, and it was nice to see women, but it was favored in the men's side. So, you think we're getting better with that kind of thing, and these systems not going to run away with some prejudices like that going forward?
There's always going to be that. They have to be intentional about it. So like when they released Dolly, it was a very controlled rollout. You had to get on like an invite, or well, you had to submit to get it, and then they gradually released it, and then they would take the feedback from the users, and I mean, they obviously knew there was going to be bias in the results from day one, but as users flag that stuff, then you can kind of like tune the model to better be more diverse in all aspects. But that is a known issue with these models, because again, it's trained on the internet. And so if you go, I don't know if Google's gotten better about it, but if you were to go Google search CEO images, like there's a really good chance it's going to be predominantly males and predominantly white males. And that is a known bias in the training set. And so, yes, you do not want that to come out in image generation. You want diversity of results. You want it to look more like the actual world.
Yeah.
But that it does take tuning, and it takes a team that wants to do that, like that prioritizes diversity and results and inclusivity, and like that's not necessarily what the models do out of the box. So it does require a focused effort on it. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to see some high profile instances where it fails at that, but we're not putting the rabbit back in the hat. Like we're out like this. There's an arms race right now to release this stuff. Like it's crazy how fast it's coming out. So all these spin-off VC funded companies and we're talking about companies going to be built at $1 trillion in value over this stuff. Like it's crazy where it's going.
Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Maybe the next search will be, Paul Roetzer talking to Dom Nicastro on a Zoom about DAL-E
with frogs in Cleveland.
Eating marshmallows and climbing a mountain. I mean, you could do it, and
do
I
it.
don't know what value that would have for the average marketer, but we'll see. Paul Roetzer, Marketing Institute. Always great to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's fun
trying to make sense of this growing AI evolution and the impact on marketers. Has been a treat to catch up again.
Always.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
All right.